y'all, and welcome back to another episode of the Talk of the Ring show. It's me, your girl Harley, and I don't do long intros anymore. I'm like zipped up. This is it. Happy Thursday. I think it's Thursday. I don't know what day it is, but we're gonna give a warm welcome to our guest, Alice Starr.
Hey, Harley, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm great. Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Of course, I know the first time we planned it, the weather got crazy, and then booking is a hard thing, whether it's for wrestling or the podcast. It's like you got to work with their schedule and your schedule, so it's kind of hard sometimes. But
Yeah, but it's good that people are busy. That's great. Yeah, yeah.
exactly, so we got you on. That's great, and we get to learn more about you and your character, so it'll be fun. So
Totally.
usually before we were talking, you were saying how that you've been in PA a couple times, you've been here doing some stuff. But before we get into that, we'll start with who or what got you into the wrestling business.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I mean, my love for wrestling actually dates back quite a while. I didn't grow up with it, say, like from a young age, probably like in elementary school, but it was really the video games, SmackDown versus Raw, that got me into to wrestling, and I've loved it ever since. But there was a time that music took over, and music was my thing. And I was back at home because my band was recording an album, and so I went to school for journalism at the time, and I found someone that had been wrestling, and I did a feature on them, and then I just kind of thought in my head, I'm not getting any younger, and my body's not going to get any better. And this was quite a few years ago. And so I got into wrestling, and ever since it's just been such a wild ride.
No, yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't know how it is in Canada because you said you're the first and only drag wrestler out there, but I think the crowd would go absolutely nuts here in Pennsylvania for that. Because we had a wrestler on last night. His name was Blocks. We were like, okay, we're going to pull some strings. Me and my dad. My dad is the biggest hype man. He's always in the chat. Like Nice. He is now, chant in your name. So he's the biggest hype man. I was like, yeah, we'll pull some strings and get you guys onto some of these shows.
Totally.
So with that being said, who trained you?
Yeah, so I trained out of a place called Battle Arts in Mississauga, Ontario, Canada. And this gym was founded by Yushi Ishikawa, who is a wrestler out of Japan, who was at the original Battle Arts. And they started this gym, him and Anthony Corelli, who a lot of people know as Santino Marella. And so I got the opportunity to train under both of them for quite some time, and absolutely wonderful experience. And they're both just such incredible personalities, and their work speaks for itself, and very different styles. And I was super fortunate to be under the learning tree of two different styles, which is not something that a lot of people get to do, especially simultaneously, right? Being able to do that. Yeah.
No, yeah. And a lot of people say there's like different things involved in the training. Like it'll be like 3 times a week, and then some people got to travel. So it's like they don't get as much training in as they like. But it's good. Like, is it like local-ish to you so you don't have to travel as far at that time, or?
At that time, yeah. I mean, it was about an hour drive one way. So not too bad. But, these days were pretty ridiculous.
No, yeah.
Excuse me. Yeah, I wake up in the morning, 6 a.m., go to the gym, and then do whatever I need to do, work a full day of work, and then eat, and then immediately go down to drive an hour to go to training. And sometimes that'd be from 7 till even 12 a.m., and then drive an hour back, and then just start it over again, 6 in the morning, wake up, get going. So those days were super long. But you know what? Like sometimes you need that to keep yourself in shape. And especially when you're learning, you want to absorb everything that you can. And so, I would want to stay there as long as I could, because there's so many great people that have come out of that gym, people that ended up in NXT, that have ended up NXT UK, Daryl Sharma, he's one of the head referees on NXT right now. All these people have come out of this gym, and it's just been fantastic to be associated with them.
No, yeah, definitely. I mean, and a lot of these people like you work so hard for it while training. And like my dad says, he says that's dedication. So like, it's gonna be like, you have a long day, and then you got training. It's like, dang, I just want to go to bed. But then afterwards, you're like, look at all this stuff that I'm gonna have. Like, I've got a job, I got money, I gotta be a wrestler. So at the end of the day, that'd be a good life for me.
For sure, yeah. You gotta count your blessings and recognize when you're fortunate. It's hard work, as you mentioned. Like it is tough. Being a wrestler is not for everybody, and all you
No.
need to do is take one bump in the ring, and you'll find that out.
And that's like my thing. I've been involved, like I've been a fan for so long, and like now I'm getting involved because I'm getting older. And people are like, "You want to become a wrestler?" I'm like, "Not really." Like I see you guys take the bumps and the injuries. I prefer to be a manager or like a photographer or something, just not a wrestler.
Yeah.
Because I don't wanna get hurt. I don't wanna. This pretty face is too messed up.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's right. And those people are managers and referees and announcers and everything. They're just as integral to wrestling as the wrestlers inside the ring.
Yeah, and like out here we have like Mr. Ruda, and then we have this manager named Delilah, and they do a lot as a manager. So maybe I'll be in there one day managing someone and be like, because here in Pennsylvania, when we go to shows, especially me, I am crazy loud. I have a big poster board, so like if you ever wrestle here, you'll definitely be like, "Yep, that's her. That's
That's
the crazy
amazing.
girl."
That's amazing.
But no, it's cool, like, how wrestling like I said last night, there was, like, all these different venues and, like, you can see the difference, like, in Pennsylvania, it's one thing, in Canada, it could be a different thing, like, all these shows are different, it's cool.
Yeah, for sure.
But so on the topic of your character, how did you come up, like, your wrestling name and, like, the whole gimmick and everything?
Yeah. Yeah. So, for me, what I really wanted to make sure that I did was do something that was authentic. And we talked about this a little bit before, we started rolling, is that um, my life and wrestling really intertwined, and what you see is what you get. When I step in between those ropes and I'm in that ring, what I'm fighting for and what I'm doing is 100% authentic, and is me inside that ring. People like to say that these are stories that are being told, but they're not contrived. These are stories that are real life playing out in front of these people. For me, it's a battle, it's a fight every single time. Especially being a drag wrestler, there are a lot of hurdles to overcome, and you can see that in the ring when I'm in there, because these are real events happening. Now, of course, I get the opportunity to wrestle some amazing different people that love what I do, but you can imagine that sometimes there are people that don't,
Mhm.
and so it's that's really my persona, is just myself in that ring, but a little bit more glamorous.
No, yeah, definitely. Because that's like such a controversial thing. Like I was saying, like it's not a common thing you'll see every day. And like, have you only wrestled as the drag wrestler, or have you wrestled like as
Well,
yourself?
yeah, I mean, that's a great question. For me, it's mainly been Alice Starr, that people have seen, but I've had opportunities to wrestle, as people under someone under a mask,
Yeah.
including for companies like Kaiju Big Battle, and various different shows. Sometimes that's a lot of fun because there's even though when I've got the makeup on and I'm in full drag, it's kind of like war paint, right?
Yeah.
That's how I view it. And that's why I don't typically wear it outside of the ring, is because for me it's ceremonial. I put this on, and this is like my Superman cape. But wearing a mask sometimes allows you to really exercise different types of things that maybe you wouldn't do in the ring, because that glamorous persona, it allows me to do a certain style, and that's just what naturally comes out. But when you put on a mask, or you're playing a different character, maybe you get to do a little bit more flips and a bit more of this, so it can be fun for sure.
No, definitely. And I've got to ask, how long does it take to get actually ready for a match?
Yeah, depends on the night. Typically, it takes me. I can get ready in about an hour and a half if I really, really need to. But I block off a 3 hour chunk of time for myself, believe it or not, because I like to make sure that I'm rested and what I'm doing is, I know what I'm doing in terms of what makeup I want to look or put on and how I want to look. But at the same time, I'd rather not be rushed. I'd rather just sit there and enjoy the process. Because to me, it's a physical thing, but it's also a mental thing. I need to get in the right space. And that's part of getting ready to go into the ring.
No, yeah, definitely. That's how I am too. Like we'll have a show. Like I do I do tables now at the wrestling show, like free poster making for the kids. I'm like, it's gotta be perfect. We gotta be there. Gotta make sure it's all set up. And like my dad is like my rock with wrestling. And he'd be like, oh, girl, you need to calm down. Everything's okay. I'm like, it's not okay. We gotta be there on time. We gotta do this, we gotta do that. And I'm like, it's a lot. Like, so I get obviously yours is more in depth, but mine's like it's more of a mental thing, like, oh gosh.
But that's great because that means you care,
No,
right?
yeah.
And so that's the core of it. When you're with wrestling, sometimes these are people that don't have the opportunity to do much. They don't get it. Maybe don't get to the movies much, or don't get to go experience things. And you have to think about that every single time you put something on. That if you're not giving 100 to these people, then they might not come back next time. And that's one of the biggest things is making sure that everybody leaves satisfied, whatever that means. So if it takes a little bit more time to get ready, then it does. Or if it's a little more stressful to get your table perfect, obviously do what you can to alleviate that stress and just kind of let it go. But at the same time, making sure that you care is the number one thing, and that's great that you do that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So we have uh, a fan, I guess you could say. His name is ABJ. He's also in the Pennsylvania area. He goes, hey, hey. His not gimmick, I shouldn't say, like a joke that me and Sabrina, who used to be my co-host, she's on a little leave right now, which is fine. But his thing and her thing is like, oh my God, I smell something stink. So like if he says that, it's not towards you, it's just their thing, which is it's cool. It's
Well,
cool.
maybe it's me. We'll see. Good thing this is video, not in person. I'll say that. No.
Right? No, I'm just kidding. I mean, that's how it used to be at some shows. Like, there was this wrestling event out here. It was called BPW, and they used to have like green turf. And like when they were sweating so bad, it was just like a room of body odor. That's why I think that's how the joke came along, and it's cool. I think.
Yeah.
But he goes and says, "What does Alice think of Paulo Del Mar?"
Great. Yeah, it's super entertaining. It's great to see drag representation on a big scale like NWA. And to be honest, that is one of the promotions that is top of mind. I would absolutely 100% love to be the NWA World Heavyweight Champion. That is a goal of mine, and to be in the same company would be absolutely incredible.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And obviously, here he comes. He goes and says, this chat has a weird smell. Oh, here. Because she goes and says, I'm still watching. So, although it's just me right now while she's on a leave, she still shows her support sometimes. But your character is a lot to unfold. Would you say you're more of a baby face, or do you tend to be a heel sometimes?
You know what? It depends on the day. We'll see how I feel. But in all honesty, I'm someone who's very transparent and open and honest, and sometimes that rubs people the wrong way. I've made a lot of friends in the wrestling world and acquaintances and allies. But sometimes you make enemies, and for me, it's happened along the way. And if at the end of the day, if someone doesn't like me because of something that I said, that's fine. If that makes me a heel, so be it. But I'm going to speak my truth, and that's what I'm going to do.
Amen. You take it as it is, and if you don't like it, then there's the door.
Exactly.
I love that. I'm going to use that as a quote now.
Yeah.
But my dad goes, "This is, have you ever suffered an injury that made you think, like, have a second thought about wrestling?"
Yeah. Actually, right now, I'm dealing with an ACL tear. And it happened last year, and I'm still rehabbing it. So it's been a very, very long process, and I'm at the tail end of it. And I'm so excited to get back into the ring. But you know, it took a lot out of me. Physically was one thing, but mentally was a totally different game for me. Not being able to be in the ring really messed me up, and it does make you question what you're doing, because you've got different priorities and things happen. And it's not necessarily the injury itself that made me think that I didn't want to be in wrestling. Like, oh, I don't want to be hurt. Because to be honest, you know, I'm giving my body to wrestling, and to these people and this message that I'm trying to put out there. I've committed to that. But that's not to say that it didn't cast doubt on me in those moments. And it kind of was a moment where I started to doubt myself. And only more recently, where I'm getting back to full steam, that I'm realizing, no, you got to keep going, and you got to finish, you know, what you've started, and keep going in this crazy world.
100%. Yeah. So like you said, how you need to like be in that mindset when you're getting ready and have enough time. Do you ever like watch your matches back and be like a self-critic and be like, I could have done that better, or this or that?
100%. Tape review is a huge thing for me, making sure that anytime that I have matches, that I watch every single one back, and critique it myself. Bring it by peers to see what they, you know, what I could have done better. You know, maybe I could have done a submission hold here, or maybe I could have, you know, maybe I wasn't quick enough over here, and then that's why he got me. You know, those are all things that are super important to me, because if you're not evaluating your performance, then you're never going to improve. And it's the hardest thing in the world is to watch yourself, whether it be talk or be on a podcast. You know, I'm going to watch this back and go, you know, what did I say wrong, or how could I have worded that differently? But that's all part of being the best you can be. And again, it comes back to being the best I can be for the wrestling audience.
No, yeah. Whether it's as your character, just like outside, I find myself like, there was in January, me and Sabrina actually got invited. We were like ring announcers, I guess you could say. And like it was our first time. Like we've done the podcast for a couple months. Now it's cool, fine. But like this was in front of audience. So it was like our first time show. And I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna mess this up. And like the one interview, I was like, gosh, I messed this all up. And everyone was like, you did fine. Stop critiquing yourself.
Yeah.
But
yeah. I mean, and you tend to always do better than you think you did too, right?
definitely.
And that can be a great confidence boost for sure. But announcing is hard, and doing interviews is hard.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I always admire people like announcers and commentary, because it is such a difficult job. And you know, I don't know if I could do it, but I'd love to try a little bit more in the future.
No, definitely. Like in this case, it was live, so it's like, oh gosh, if you mess up, there's
Yeah,
no going back. Like if it was pre-recorded, that's fine. But like the podcast, it's live, so it is how it is.
totally.
But so, what would you say is your favorite thing about wrestling? Whether it's the fans, the traveling, whatever.
Well, that's a tough one. Favorite thing about wrestling? I mean, seeing people's faces for sure. You know, when you're in the ring and seeing the reactions on people's faces, you know, especially kids. You know, and maybe that will be controversial because I'm a drag queen and people think it's they're groomers, which is absolutely freaking ridiculous and whatever. Let's not get into that. But the thing is that, you know, seeing the joy on kids' faces at a wrestling event is an amazing thing. You know, people forget that wrestling it's for kids and big kids. You know, that's what it is. And seeing the reaction and suspending people's disbelief sometimes in certain moments is remarkable, because our job sometimes, you know, for me, it's in there to tell this message and be the best I can be and win, so you can overcome these what seems like insurmountable, yeah, whatever, you know what I'm trying,
Yeah.
hurdles. But at the same time, um, I don't even know where I was going, but regardless, like seeing people's faces is remarkable. Suspending disbelief. That's what I'm trying to say. Is
Yeah.
seeing people. They come into a wrestling show because they want to get away from their worries, and that doesn't mean that you don't avoid the truth or what's happening or tell these stories. But at the same time, you have to let people be entertained, and allowing, for me to do that and be allowed to entertain people, is a pleasure, and it's an honor, and that's why I love the wrestling business, is because you get to change lives.
No, yeah, 100%. And like out here, something we used to say all the time is like, it's like a family reunion. Like you won't see them for a month, and then we're like, oh my God, how you been? And like, just like your normal people, like, not, it's not even wrestling, but like, yeah. So with that being said, do you tend to get a lot more like cheers or boos, or it's just like, whatever?
Yeah, no, I mean, to be honest, throughout my career, I've been lucky to get a lot of cheers, more so than boos. That's not to say I haven't gotten boos, and people, they don't agree with what I do, or agree with what I said or done, and that's completely fine. But you know, uh, some people really love getting booed. For me, I don't. I don't love getting booed. I love being cheered and being someone, that's among the people. And that probably dates back to just me always feeling like I've been an outsider in my life, always on the outside. And being someone who can overcome that, is something that I'm really trying to strive for. And when I'm in the ring, to show people that they can too, is remarkable. And so, to be cheered for that, of course, is something that I love, and that's what I strive for.
Yeah, and like there's been some people on here like they're like, oh, they're heels, so obviously they're like, yeah, I like the booze. But like me personally, whether it's joking or not, I will take that to heart. I'll be like, oh my God, they booed me. I'm such a terrible person. But that's why, like, if I get involved, I can't see myself as a heel because I'm such a baby face. I'm the nicest kid. I can't. Like being serious for me is like something's gotta really like piss me off before I get to that point. But
Yeah.
it's not really my thing. But so with that being like that's your favorite part, what would you say is the hardest part for you?
Um, the hardest part, aside from getting ready, having to set aside 3 hours to get ready and get into the zone. Um, I mean, the physical toll is nothing to like not mention. This is something that, is pretty obvious. Like your body goes through a lot, and it's there's nothing fake about being lifted 6 feet in the air and body slammed, and it's tough. And losing is tough. Especially when the people are behind you, and you feel like you've let people down. That's really tough. You can be long nights, traveling. I'm someone who loves traveling. I love being out on the road. I love seeing new towns and hitting new cities and seeing new fans and new audiences. But I have a family now. I have a young son, and that can be hard to not be around. And I've been really lucky so far to get to spend a lot of time with them because of my knee. But it's going to be very difficult, as soon as I'm back to 100% and not being around my family. But at the same time, I know what I'm doing and what I'm setting out to do is to make a better life for a lot of people and myself. And that means him as well. So, it's a motivation for sure, but it's tough to be away.
100%. And like as you mentioned, as you have a kid, do you think once he gets older, do you think he's gonna be like, I want to get involved and do what you're doing, or are you gonna be like, I know what it's like, don't really do it, or are you gonna be like, yeah, of course, go do you?
You know, I have no clue. He's too young to show too many interests. But I do know, like for me, like I don't know if we had been rolling yet, but I play a lot of music, and I played in bands, and I've recorded albums and toured with bands and stuff like that. And so music's a huge thing in our house, and I'm always playing guitar or doing something, and he absolutely loves it. Like he'll come over, and I don't push anything on him, and so because he loves it, like I usually have to give him a guitar, and then I'll have a guitar. So who knows with wrestling? I'm going to wait a little while to expose him to that, just because it can be a little violent and a little scary. But once he's old enough, if he digs it, cool. We'll go down that road. But if he doesn't, he can have his own interests, and that's completely fine with me.
Right? Like you do you. I'll support you either way. But I mean, a lot of parents, like there's been some wrestlers on here that they're parents themselves, and they're like, the business can be shady sometimes, and people want to start a lot of dramas. I'm like, don't really get involved. But
Yeah.
there's good and bad to it. But if you always look at the bad, you're gonna miss the good. So
Well, exactly. And, the whole point of what I do is to prove to people you can be whoever and do whatever you want. And if I don't chase these dreams, then I don't know how I can look at him and say that he can be whoever he wants or do whatever he wants. And so, with that said, if he wants to get into the wrestling world, I'm all there and ready to support him, just as your dad is, which is absolutely incredible. I love that, especially as a parent, seeing that. That's amazing. So that's where I'll be when he's ready. If he digs it and wants to be in it, cool. But I'll be there to let him know the background of it and see if he still likes it.
this is it.
Yeah.
There might be some bad, but like if you kick its ass, it'll be fine.
Yeah, totally.
But in the chat, we got ABJ, like I was saying before. He's more on the commentary side. So like if you're at a show, you'll see him and hear him. But that's kind of his thing. And he goes and says, I'm guessing the hardest part is bumps. I don't know if he ever took a bump. I gotta find out on that one. But my dad goes and says, do you have a catchphrase? Or like something you say?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes things just roll off the tongue. Sometimes I love saying that either "ain't that a drag" or "that's a drag." People, they tend to get a kick out of that, so I like saying that for sure.
No, yeah. And so do you have an accent, I guess you could say, like when you're drag wrestling, or is it is?
No, yeah, some people love to put on a voice and really embody a character. But as I said, I'm really me, and so my movements, although exaggerated, Alice Starr is very much Tyler. Tyler is my birth name, and that's the name that most people say. But Alice Starr is me. Like that is me. That's part of me. So it's just a part that I don't get to live out in the world a lot. So it's great to have that duality of my personality being in this world, being able to play in multiple worlds and different characters and personas and aspects of myself. It's incredible.
No, yeah, definitely. And like that's cool. Like you get to be whatever you want to be, and that's just how you are. So it's
Yeah,
cool.
for sure.
So if WWE and AEW called, which one would you take?
WWE. That was an easy one. I mean, anybody that says that they don't want to be in the WWE, I think is lying, to be completely honest. Everybody has grown up with the company. Everybody has dreams of main eventing WrestleMania. Although I respect AEW and the company itself, I don't know if it's like the product for me. I would definitely entertain the idea to learn more about them, and why people tend to love being at that company. But as a viewer, it's just maybe not my style. Yeah.
No, yeah. And I mean, like, have you ever noticed, like, maybe when you first got involved, not so now, but have you ever noticed, like, yourself actually, like, having anxiety, like, oh my gosh, this is about to happen, I'm gonna die?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Or like when I'm watching.
Or, like, when you're about to perform, like, when you first got involved?
Oh, yeah. I mean, for sure. I mean, like I said, like you're up 6 feet in the air and someone's body slamming you. Like, yeah, that's scary. Especially, I'm not the super tall guy. I'm 6 feet, and so I'm not the shortest out there, but I'm not definitely not the tallest. And so when you're up against someone that's 6'5", 6'6", and up, I'm looking straight up at them, and that's intimidating. But you got to find a way to get around it. Maybe I'm quicker. Maybe I am smarter. Maybe I'm craftier. There are a million different ways that I can combat that. But yeah, it's pretty scary to see someone much bigger than you, for sure.
No, yeah, and like you said, everyone's dream, and if not, they're probably lying, to headline at like WrestleMania. Me personally, if I ever got involved and was a manager, I'd probably die before I can perform at WrestleMania. I'd be like, too many
The
people,
anxiety. Yeah.
right? Like these small shows, it's okay, like working your way up, and hopefully at that point I'll be fine. But like right now, it's like, oh my god, what if I say something wrong? What if I do something wrong?
Yeah.
So
But
WrestleMania is a big thing, though.
But you know what? I believe that everything from the show around the corner with 20 people in the audience to WrestleMania, every show is important if at least one person leaves happy and satisfied. Now, obviously, you want everybody to be satisfied, but if one person has a great time, then it was worth it.
Amen. And that one fan will always be me.
Amazing.
Right?
Amazing.
But so what would you like? Do you think you said like you tore your ACL? Do you think it's gonna be an injury thing or like a mindset thing or like just getting away to be like with your family? What do you think it is gonna to make you retire?
Retirement is I think it's a long way off, not because you know it's because I don't really have an end goal, to be completely fair. For me, I take every day as it comes, and I have goals. I do want to win the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship. I do want to be with the WWE, or a company of that stature. But at the same time, something like a belt. I always say this, is that belts come and go, but legacies are forever. And I don't know if you fully know when your legacy has been set. And I definitely am someone who can't recognize it in the moment. It takes me a long, 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 long time to look back and go, wow, that was cool. Or wow, I loved what I did. And to me, it's always, I'm really hard on myself and just trying to strive to do something a little bit better and better and better and better. I'm learning to live in the moment, but I think that makes retirement really hard because you're always trying to get to that spot, which the goalpost keeps changing. So I try to just live each day as it comes. And of course, family plays a big role, and I want to make sure that whatever I do, I can be present with them, but at the same time, give myself to wrestling the way that I dream.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, some people are like, yeah, I want to be Ric Flair. I'm like, me personally, I wouldn't want to be Ric Flair going down with a walker, be like, I'll be there in a couple minutes. Just give me a minute.
Yeah, that's pretty old out there.
Yeah. But when it comes to that time, like way, way, way in the future, do you think after you retire, would you still want to be involved, whether it's like commentary, training, whatever?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I have so many interests. For me, music again is a huge thing. Wrestling is a huge thing. I'm a massive video game and comic book fan, and those are all worlds that I've, at least dipped my toes in. But who knows what the future holds? I mean, for me, I'd love to go the CM Punk route and write for Marvel. These opportunities to pigeonhole yourself as just a wrestler, to me, makes no sense. What I love to do is have a vast amount of interests and continue to be creative and try something new and evolve. So with wrestling, that's definitely something that I try to do, but in all aspects that I'm doing as well. So yeah.
Definitely. And so, like, do you have like you said you have a bunch of goals that you want to like accomplish? Do you have like a dream venue or dream place you'd want to wrestle? Whether it's like
Yeah.
Madison Garden.
Um, there's a few. So I think well, maybe not number one, but is up there is the Scotiabank Arena in Toronto. That's the arena where I used to go see my favorite bands. And I still go there when I can. I'm in Ottawa now, so a little bit farther, but every single band that I've loved and all my idols have played there. And I've seen wrestling there. And this is the arena where the Toronto Maple Leafs are playing literally right now, I think. And not that I'm a hockey fan, but this is a really famous arena. So being there and wrestling in that arena would be absolutely incredible. But I think my number one, if I could wrestle anywhere in the world, would be Wembley Stadium, because for me, my favorite match is Davey Boy Smith versus Bret Hart at SummerSlam, and that's one of the matches that really has got me into wrestling and keeps me in wrestling. I watch that match a lot, and it inspires me. And to be able to wrestle in a venue of like that size would be mind blowing. And I think about it all the time. There's also a great Foo Fighters DVD where they played Wembley, and that inspires me as a musician. And so seeing all these great artists and the history behind Wembley in general, it would be just, yeah, out of this world.
Right. I mean, and like that's kind of the thing. Like it's something that like worked its way, like a storyline, I guess you could say. Like a lot of people say, like with WWE or AEW, they're like, oh well, I've seen WWE because it's been a lot. It's been around longer than AEW, so it's like it builds up. Like with me, if I ever became a manager, I don't think I'd be like, yeah, Madison Square Garden or like one of those big places. I'll be like, my home, PPW.
Yeah.
I've been involved. That'll be like a dream for me to like be a manager there and like yell, like I said, I'm not a heel, but like if I was a heel, be like, you suck, yell at them. But I don't think I could ever be a heel. And I have a hard time studying.
Hey, you never know.
Who knows? Maybe there's a wrestler here in the Pennsylvania, New York area. His name is Buddy Thomas. And I had him on my podcast for like on my birthday. So, and everyone knows I'm a babyface. When he came on, he like flipped a switch and I was like the biggest heel. I was fighting back and forth with him. I was like, I don't know what happened, but like that was different.
Hey, he was having a bad day, clearly.
Yeah, character, but we're not going to ruin his ego.
That's fine.
No, so like with that being said, have you ever like wrestled somewhere and was like, I really like this venue, or it just stood out to you?
Yeah. At Battle Arts Academy, there's actually an arena within the gym, and it's always incredible to wrestle out of there because there's people coming in and out all the time. Not to say that I'm on any level of these people whatsoever, but John Cena's been in there and not wrestling, but working out. And the WWE guys are always in and out, and Impact Wrestling has taped out of there. And so many great promotions in Ontario running shows out of there. It's always fun to be there and be home. But at the same time, something like Kaiju Big Battle, which I mentioned earlier, I got the opportunity to perform on that show in Boston. And that was an incredible crowd. The people in Boston were wild. So sometimes you get surprised, but there's nothing like home, as you said, right? Being
Exactly,
your
yeah.
home base. There's something special about that.
No, yeah, 100%. And like, have you, like you said before we started, you were like, oh, like you came up to PA, even if it's sometimes just to be a fan, like you go to the shows. Have you ever caught yourself like being, I guess you could say like the term is fangirling, but not really. You'll be like, oh my gosh. Have you ever caught yourself doing that in wrestling, or is it like,
Well, to me, if people throw the word, also use the word mark, however you feel about that word is one thing, but you need to be a fan of wrestling. Like if you're not a fan of it, why are you doing this? If you're not enjoying it, you need to be able to sit back and enjoy the world of wrestling. If you're only in your stream and you've got this tunnel vision of whatever you're doing is the only thing that's right. then you're wrong, because there are so many different styles out there. There's so many different people and personalities and different types of matches and stories that are being told. And you need to be a fan. Like, you need to be able to be inspired by the people that are around you. If you're not, you're going to become stale, most likely. So for me, I love going to see wrestling. I love sitting in the stands, in the audience, and being a wrestling fan, because for me, it brings me back to a special place. Brings me back to my childhood. It brings me back to my teenage years, my adulthood. All these moments, wrestling has been there. So it not only brings back these memories and these incredible feelings, but it also makes me hopeful for the future. Every time I watch a wrestling show and I'm in the audience, I think, this is so much fun, but I also can't wait to be in there. There's
Exactly.
something sacred about those four corners and that ring that's in there. That's the Starr. That is, when there's something special when you're in a venue and you look at the ring. It's sacred almost. So for me, it never gets old. It never gets old looking at it, whether I'm inside the ring or on the outside as an audience member.
No, definitely. And like on the topic of the mark, that is like such a like heated conversation for me. I'll rant on that for hours. I think everyone at one point was a mark or a fan, like however you want to say it, like you said. I think these promoters, they were a fan or a mark at one point. So you can't say, oh, that person's a mark when you were yourself.
Yeah.
That's such a like popular term, like drag wrestling, and it's like that's why I told you before, and I'm like, there's a lot of controversial things, and like people get heated about it. I'm like, you gotta be careful in wrestling.
Yeah, for sure.
So something we have out here is intergender wrestling. In your case, how do you feel about that?
To me, it makes sense within the realm of wrestling,
Mm-hmm.
and this world of pro wrestling, because I like to use the example of Rey Mysterio versus Big Show. 5'2", 3", whatever Rey Mysterio is. Big Show, I think he's 7 feet, or says he's 7 feet, and that's a massive size difference. We're not adhering to weight classes, right?
Right, yeah.
And so to have those two wrestlers in the ring against each other inherently does not make sense. If this was the Olympics, you would not have Big Show versus Rey Mysterio. And so I like to apply that logic to intergender wrestling as well, where you think, not that it doesn't make sense on another scale or whatever. That's not the discussion. But in terms of pro wrestling, if I was in the ring with Ronda Rousey, I mean, she would probably kick my ass. Let's be real. She is a world class wrestler, and judo fighter, and just mixed martial arts in general. So because she's a female means nothing. It means that she's a badass and can take on other people. And there are ways to tell stories in the ring that make sense with different types of genders in the ring.
100%, yeah. So like we kind of brought up like stories and storylines. Do you have you ever been involved in a storyline, or do you prefer storylines or just random matches against whoever?
Yeah, I mean, my entire career is a storyline, to be honest, and it's a true story. When I go down to that ring, I'm fighting for myself. I'm fighting for others. I'm fighting for my son, my family. These are real things, but that's a story that people resonate with, and these are the things that I'm saying, are not necessarily hyperbole, but there's entertainment value in it, but the whole reason is because they gravitate towards entertainment. So you ham something up, but it's coming from a true place. So my whole career is a story, and it's yet to be finished, of course. And so I'm writing new chapters and new chapters and new chapters, along the way. Sometimes that means one match can change everything. Maybe I don't have history with someone, but that match can change the whole trajectory of your career and your life. So I treat everything as such. There are people that I have history with. There are people that there's animosity. There are friendships. There are, these are all real things. But at the end of the day, we're out there to entertain and tell stories, no matter what, if it's a one-off or if it's something that's ongoing.
100%. And like you said, like there's people that you're gonna like, and then there's people that you're not gonna necessarily like. And like that's my thing. Like I'm a nice person. I love everyone, but like if someone, not gonna say who, but like I'll be nice to you still in person, but like outside I'll be like, I hate that man.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we've got those
Exactly.
people, and sometimes you don't want to create that friction. But
Mhm.
there's always people where you go,
I
like,
mean,
where that guy
yeah.
is.
And like that's sometime on here, like me and when Sabrina was on here, we'll be like, it's our podcast, we say whatever we want. And I'll be like, sometimes you gotta watch it because I'm like wrestling, everyone talks, there's always some sort of something, and like they'll be like, that person said that, and I'm like, I didn't mean it like that.
For sure.
So, but intergender wrestling is something like more frequently now out here. So another one is hardcore wrestling. Have you ever been involved in that? Would you like to, or is it not really your thing?
Yeah, so I've been asked to do some hardcore wrestling matches. I haven't quite done them yet, and I'm picking my moments, because I think that's something that I will do one day. But it has to make sense to me. It has
Yeah.
to. It can't be violence for the sake of violence. Why am I being hardcore? What has pushed me to this limit where I need to go so far and use these weapons? Gratuitous violence to me doesn't make sense. I'm not someone who goes out somewhere and just punches someone in the face or grabs a weapon and this and that. You know, you're at the pool hall and you grab a stick and break it. Like, I'm just not that guy. I like to diffuse a situation, but don't get me wrong. If I need to, I'm going to break a pool cue and I'm ready. So when that time comes, yeah, I'm going to step in and do a hardcore match, but it'll take something to really push me there. And once I'm there, it's going to be a show.
And yeah, and I think that's like that plays as in your character, like it's just who you are, and like baby face ish. Like you said, you're not really a heel or a face. It's just it is what it is. But me, you're coming off more as a face. Like I don't want to use the weapons, but if I have to, like I'm gonna do something. And like that's kind of cool. Like when I hear like drag wrestling or drag stars, I think of like heels and makeup. And like this may be a controversial thing, but like if a hardcore match was to happen, you just have heels and like makeup brushes, that'll be a different type. I'll be like, yo, I love wrestling. So it kind of needs to happen one day. I'll be like, yep.
Hey, I will use whatever I need to use in that match to make sure I get that W.
No, definitely. Like that'll be cool and different. Like your wrestling style is different already, but it's cool. Like it's not something you see a lot and often.
Totally.
But other than you said like it takes you some time to get ready, is there anything else you do before like coming out the curtain, like whether it's a warm up, chugging some water?
Yeah. I'll definitely make sure I'm hydrated. It's very tiring being out in that ring. You get exhausted. But outside of that, to be honest, if I've got time, I tend to just kind of maybe it's some sort of meditation. I don't know, but I close my eyes and just visualize what I want to do out there. And sometimes it kind of sets me in this trance, and make sure that I'm focused in the way that I want to be, because when you're in that ring, anything can happen, and your opponent is someone that is unpredictable often. You can do your research and you can know who they are, inside that ring and out. But it's live. You're in there and you're going at it. So I need to be as focused as I can. And that's something that's kind of, I'm trying to build into my ritual, but sometimes you don't have the opportunity, travel took longer than you thought. And, you're rushing to get in there and then you just hit hit the ring, especially if it's you're traveling pretty far. So when I do get the opportunity, that's something that I love to do, is just go off on my own and find some time to just close my eyes and get my mind straight.
Definitely. And I think that's like that's something different. Like we heard like hitting the vape and like talking to myself in a mirror or splashing some water, doing a warm up. But like it's more like a mindset thing. Like if your mind isn't ready, your body's gonna be all over the place. And like that's why I brought up the anxiety. Like me, I'd be like, I can't do this. More me, like I'll be like, I can't do this, and then be like, go out there, be like, yeah, I can do this.
Exactly.
Inside I'm dying. But no, it's cool. It's different.
Yeah.
But so we talked about some goals and stuff. So my dad goes and says, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Are there any like specific goals that you want to accomplish in that time?
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, it's kind of a cop out answer, but I just want to be happy in what I do, and stay on track. Like I said, there are certain goalposts that I have, like winning the NWA championship and getting to perform at some amazing venues. But at the end of the day, I travel and I wrestle everywhere I can because of what I said. If there's one person that leaves inspired, then I've done my job. And so throughout those 5 years, my goal is really to be as inspirational as I can, because it's almost me giving back to my idols, these idols that went out and just did their thing and were whoever they wanted to be. This is Elton John, this is Kiss, this is so many different people, Bret Hart, these people that have honor in a lot of ways. Kiss not as much, but they stay true to themselves and they are who they are. And it gave me hope, and an avenue to think that I could be something. And so I just want to be that person for others, the way that my idols were there for me. That's my ultimate goal. There's no way to quantify what that looks like. But within the 5 years, I want to hit as many towns and cities as I can in between, to change lives the way my idols did for me. Outside of that, and I talked about comic books. I'd love to write a comic book. Maybe that's not within this next 5 years, but that's at some point. Music again. Alice Starr is Canada's first and only drag queen pro wrestler, but at the same time, I love music. I'm going to put out music. Alice Starr is not going to just be Canada's first and only drag queen pro wrestler. Alice Starr is going to be the first and only Alice Starr.
No, yeah. And then like you bring up music. Did you make your own like entrance music or?
I would love to. That's really awesome, and it's fun that you say that. There's things that's kicking around where I hear it, and I've recorded things on my own, and I go, yeah, that would make an awesome entrance. Most of the time, I walk out to a song that gets people going and people on my side, which is "Dancing Queen" by ABBA. People love that song. They love clapping. They get into it. But it's almost a cheat to get people on my side and to love me, because the crowd, when they're on your side, it gets a whole lot easier to get the confidence you need to win a match.
100%. And like, so you kind of said like you wrestle in Canada and like all these other places, but like for the next couple weeks, what are some like upcoming shows that you have and like people can find you at?
Yeah. So if people really want to find the latest things that I've done, I'm launching a website very soon. So it's going to have like all the new events that I've got coming up and everything that I've done. But most recently, I did a show called Drag Heels. And that's available in Canada on a network called Out TV, but also on Apple TV. Where's Apple TV, Amazon Prime, and it can be accessible elsewhere internationally. And this show was incredible. It wasn't a wrestling show; it was a show about different drag queens around the world or around Canada coming together and creating this performance for this sold out audience over 2 nights in the Toronto's largest, or I think it's the longest running queer theater in Toronto. And so we all created our one-person show and performed it over these 2 nights. And me being the wrestler, I got to wrestle in this theater. We didn't get to bring a ring in, but I got to do it there. So drag heels was an incredible opportunity. And I think people will really get to know me a whole lot better by seeing that show. And that's where they're going to see me as my most recent, just because of my knee injury. So, I'm not going to be wrestling next month. Probably not the month after. Who knows? Maybe I'm not even wrestling for the rest of the year. But that's my goal, is to get back in the ring as soon as possible. And when I am ready, then everybody will know about it.
Definitely. And like, if they wanted to find you on social media to keep up with that, where can they find you on that?
Yeah, I'm most active on Instagram at official Alice Starr. That's where you're going to find all the latest updates, especially when it comes down to the launch of the website, and everything else that I've got going. And trust me, it's a lot. I'm someone who likes to keep busy, and so moving forward, there's a lot on the pipeline, and I'm so excited for people to see it.
Definitely. And then lastly, do you have merch? And if so, where can people purchase it?
Ooh, stay tuned on that one. All I'll say is, yes, there's merch coming. People have asked a lot. People have asked for prints and T-shirts and tote bags and everything under the sun. It will be coming. It's all designed. It's all ready. Just waiting for the launch of the website, and it's going to be part of it. It's going to be accessible to everybody around the world.
Right. And so if you guys want that merch, you kind of got to subscribe and send them a follow so you can keep up with it. Then make sure you're checking out the website. Right? I'm going to be like, yo, I'm going to get some merch, or whether it's a t-shirt. There's still some good stuff. I mean,
I will say this. I'll toot my own horn. It's damn good merch. I'll say this. When I do something, I do it right.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, something that we need, because obviously, like, the main merch is like t-shirts, prints. Like, we need stuff different. I think we need like printed leggings, like with your little design on the.
Hey, there's an idea, right? I love
I
it.
mean, we don't have much leggings. Like, we have
You're
like.
hired.
I'll be like your merch designer. Be like, so this is what they want. This is what they need. But no, so thank you so much for coming on, and it was great getting to know you. And I'm sure one day I'll see you wrestling, whether it's in like PA or like whether I'm traveling, and be like, we're gonna go to that show and see that wrestler. It'll be fun either way. But thank you so much for coming on. It was overdue. We planned one day. Weather messed it up, but you're here. We had fun, hopefully.
Oh, I loved it. Thank you so much for having me. I'm going to be out to PA as soon as I can. I get out there quite often. So I'll make sure that when I do have matches out there, you and everybody else will know about
it. Right. You'll be the first person to be like, I know I was on your podcast. I'm coming up with hype me up. No, I'm just kidding. But thank you so much. And thank you all my fans and watchers and viewers. Make sure you're giving him a follow. Make sure you're subscribing, sharing, everything. Enjoy your night. Bye.